WQRC 89.3 FM had been circling the drain for years. They played dad rock no one asked for, their signal barely reaching the next town over, and their only regular caller was some guy named Gary who thought birds weren't real, but ducks were fine. So, when the station manager, Vince, suggested a stunt to boost their ratings, no one expected a taste to be involved. "Let's do a War of the Worlds," he said, slamming a fistful of Pringles onto the break room table. "But like, modern, creepy, realistic, news bulletins, emergency alerts, the whole shebang." It was April 1st. The broadcast went live at 9 o'clock p.m. "We interrupt this program with breaking news," the anchor said, voice trembling, just enough for the sound to be authentic. "Unidentified aerial phenomena, UFOs, have been reported over 3 major cities." They leaned in, fake experts, pre-recorded screams, static, Air Force captain, who suspiciously sounded like the janitor with a southern accent. At 9:37 p.m., they aired a final message from the president before abruptly cutting the feed. Dead air for 10 seconds. Then they played Hotel California. It was gold. Twitter caught fire. A few new listeners even called the police, which was honestly the dream. Vince was still doing jazz hands and the phone started ringing again. Every line, at once. At first they assumed it was backlash, but the calls weren't complaints. They were questions. "Why is the sky red? Are you still broadcasting from inside the station? There's smoke coming from your roof. Did the ship land near you too?" The station lights flickered. Vince laughed until the building shuddered, like a freight train was passing directly underneath. They ran outside. Above them, the sky was red. Not a filter, not a glitch. A roiling, plush red. Like it was pulsing, like blood behind a migraine. Something enormous hovered above the station, black and jagged, like someone had ripped a chunk out of metal, out of the earth, and turned it inside out. It shouldn't have been able to fly. It wasn't. It was watching. Vince, shaking, grabbed his mic and clicked the transmitter back on. This is WQRC 89.3 FM, he said. "We'd like to issue a formal apology. The earlier broadcast was fiction. We repeat, fiction. There are no UFOs." The sky answered with a sound like screeching brakes and bone tearing through the cloth. The ship descended. The last thing Vince said on live radio, heard in 3 counties, was, "Wait, if we didn't send the signal, who did?" Static. Then a new voice took over the broadcast. Not speaking. Clicking. Rhythmic. Pulsing. Like an insect choir learning Morse code. Somewhere far away, in another country, other radios clicked on. Then others. And others. The same signal. The same sound. Because someone, or something, had heard the joke. And now, they were answering. I live on a quiet road. No through traffic, just houses on either side and the occasional dog walker. I bought a doorbell camera last month after a package went missing. Since then, it's mostly just recording cats, wind, and the neighbor's teenage son sneaking back in after curfew. Except for last Thursday night. At 3:12 a.m., the camera recorded motion across the street. A man just standing there on the pavement, facing the house. He wasn't doing anything, just still, arms hanging out his sides. It was foggy, so I couldn't really make out much detail, except that he was wearing a coat despite the cold, and his head was tilted just slightly too far to the left, like it wasn't sitting right on his shoulders. The clip ends after about 30 seconds. He never moves. Friday morning, I checked the live feed before leaving for work. Nothing there, empty street. But when I got home and checked the motion alerts, he was back. Same time, 3:12 a.m. Only this time, he was dancing. Slow, unsteady movements, like a child pretending to be a ballerina underwater, arms swaying, head lolling with a rhythm. There was no music, obviously, but his pacing was deliberate. He never stepped off the curb, just swayed side to side, 1 foot up, 1 foot down, a slow, shuffling spin. Then he stopped, turned to face my house again, and waved. The clip ended there. I showed a friend, and she thought it was just someone drunk or on something. So, that night I stayed up. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the motion alert pinged. I pulled up the live feed. He was there, same spot, across the street, dancing. Same slow, unsteady rhythm. Arms swaying like dead weight, feet dragging, and as if the air around him was thick. Then he stopped and turned his back to the camera. He stood like that for maybe 10 seconds, still swaying slightly. Then his neck cracked so loudly that it was picked up by the microphone. I watched, frozen, as his head turned all the way around to face the camera. But his body didn't follow. Not at first. His head stared directly at me, upside down, mouth slack, eyes wide. He just stood like that, twisted and waiting. Then, slowly, his torso began to rotate, like something was pushing against the spine, turning it piece by piece, until the rest of him matched his head. It didn't look human. It looked like a spider unfolding, joints bending wrong, movements sharp and snapping like pulled tendons trying to mimic choreography. Then he stood completely still and sprinted straight at the camera. No build-up, no warning, just a sudden explosive sprint. Arms flailing behind him, knees high, head forward like an animal that hadn't learned how to walk upright. He didn't blink. His jaw hung open, loose and bouncing as he ran. I couldn't move, just watched the live feed as he charged across the road, full speed, until the camera caught every single frame of his face. Then, the feed cut out. I heard it in real life, at my front door. Over and over, not knocks, not even fists. He was throwing himself against the door. I heard the frame rattle, the chain inside vibrating against the lock. Then, silence. No retreating footsteps, no breathing, just a loud silence. I didn't sleep. I sat on the floor across from the door, phone in my hand, staring at the people. At 3:27 a.m., I finally called the police. I didn't know what else to do. I said someone had tried to break in, that there'd been pounding, aggressive, non-stop, that I had video. They showed up 20 minutes later and found nothing. No marks, no damage, no sign that anyone had been at the door. One of the officers even reviewed the footage from the doorbell camera with me. But the clips were gone. Not just the attack. Everything. The dancing, the figure, the motional arts. All of it wiped. The officer looked at me like I'd wasted their time. Told me it was probably a glitch, maybe a weird dream, maybe a prank. But I didn't imagine what I saw, and I know what I heard. I deleted the app the next morning, took the camera offline. I wanted to believe that it was over. But tonight, just after 3, my phone buzzed. No app, no notification, just a text from an unknown number. Are you watching? I haven't opened the door. I'm not going to. But through the curtains, across the street, he's there. He's not dancing anymore. He's just standing in the road, still, staring at my door. And I don't think he's going to wait much longer. The first clap came from the attic. Just one, sharp, hollow, like 2 pieces of dry wood snapping together. I looked up from the sink. My hands were still wet. The dishes floated in the gray water, forgotten. It wasn't loud, but it had weight, like it was meant for me. I live alone, or I did. I tried to ignore it. Old houses settle right. But this wasn't settling. It was rhythmic, deliberate. The next night it came again. From the landing this time. Closer, as if it had come down a step or 2. I froze halfway through brushing my teeth. The mirror showed only me and the open door behind me. But the sound was real. It moved. It felt like a signal, like it was showing me the way. I don't know why I followed. Maybe I was curious. Maybe I was dreaming. I remember the world feeling soft around the edges, like walking through a warm fog. Each time I stopped, it waited. Each time I stepped forward, it answered. Down the stairs. Through the kitchen. To the basement door. I stood there, hand on the knob. The air behind it felt swollen, like the house was holding its breath. From the bottom of the steps. I backed away. Since then, it claps every night. Sometimes from the hallway, sometimes just behind the walls. Once I heard it under the bed. 3 sharp bursts that made the frame shiver. I started locking doors, but the locks always end up undone. I wedged chairs beneath handles, taped drawers closed. None of it matters. Last night I woke up from the bedroom door, wide open. No draft, just the hallway stretching out like a throat, and the soft, deliberate. I think it wants me to come see something. I think it's proud of it. Tonight it clapped from inside the room. One sudden strike that echoed too long, like a handprint pressed into silence. There was a smell after, warm, coppery, like old blood and hot coins. I don't look anymore. I just write and wait. It claps even when I don't move now. Impatient, like it's rehearsed this over 100 times already. The rhythm is faster, sharper, urging. There's something in the basement. I don't know how I know, but I've never opened the door again. But I know it's down there, and it's waiting for me to come see. And the sound, the clapping, it isn't just hands anymore. It's many hands. They clap like they're proud, like they're excited, like they know I'll come down eventually. Thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. It's a little different than we usually do, and the new style of the thumbnail and everything changing might throw off some people, so I do apologize for that. It's probably going to be like that for a while. But hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully the algorithm did treat me nicely, which probably not. But if you are new to this channel and you like what you heard or enjoyed anything on the channel, make sure to like, comment, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to turn on those post notifications as well, so then every time I upload, hopefully you'll get a some type of notification. But yeah, make sure to check out the links in the description as well. Twitter, Instagram, everything like that, including my Gmail if you want to submit a story. But with that being said, stay safe, stay scary, and I'll see you in the next one.